Good afternoon. I was born and bred in Ivanhoe. I was born at my granny's. That's a nice little village, is Ivanhoe, like what they calls interdenominational. That's got a church, a Ebenezer Strict Baptist, a Wesleyan Reform, a Bethel, and a little Salvation Army made out of corrugated iron. And when that rains, that don't half rattle. Only, of course, 'tis nice soft water. I'm church myself, St. Mark's, what they calls perpendicular. That was built by the Vikings in the 11th century afore the railway come. There's got some fine old crusaders in 'en, like these here stone statues where he lays underneath and they puts these here stone statues on the lid so's you recognise hisself. Only I don't reckon nobody'll recognise him, 'cause us have been sharping our sickles and fagging hooks on him ever since I can remember, and he hadn't got no face then. Us gets into church at night and sharps our sickles and fagging hooks on this here old crusader. All over him. I reckon that's the finest bit of sharpening stone in Hertfordshire. Only, of course, nobody don't know that's been handed down like. I had to laugh at our old vicar showing some folks over the church. He says this year old crusader, he says, was defaced by Oliver Cromwell at the time of the Revelation. I had to laugh. He lays there quite comfortable like, with his old woman alongside him. I reckon that's the finest bit of sharpening stone in Hertfordshire. Only his old woman ain't no good. Can't get no edge out of her. He have a little dog lays at his feet, like a little crusading dog what used to follow after him down by the Crimea. Only I reckon that's more like a whippet if you ask me. That stands over again the organ. I like music. I used to sing in the choir, only they reckon my voice was a bit too spiteful. I mind old Charlie Hawkins said to me one time, he said, "You got a belly full of music, Jimmy, but a bad road out." But I had a tidy good education. I could read when I was 18, only, of course, not to understand it. Not like that old Miss Piggott what used to play the organ. I hated the sights of her. I couldn't abide her. They reckon her dad was a big army gentleman left over from the mutinies. But she was very hot on the temperance. I mind she seed my barrow stood outside the Rose and Crown one time. I'd been over to get some bean sticks from by the crab tree, and I stood my barrow outside the Rose and Crown, and she seen it stood there. So I sees her on the Tuesday, and she starts off at me. She says, "I seed your barrow stood outside the Rose and Crown," she says. "That's intemperance," she says. "Look not upon the wine when it is red," she says, "'cause at the last it biteth like a serpent and stingeth like a adder." Proverbs 25, 31 and 32. But I said, "I was never inside the Rose and Crown." I said, "I never come near." And she says, "I seed your barrow stood outside." She says, "That's intemperance, that's intemperance." So I seed it wasn't no good argufying. I touched me hat and I said, "Good afternoon." About 3 or 4 days afterwards, I left my barrow stood outside her front door all night. That had her. Only she went away from Ivanhoe. She got poorly. I reckon she had a collision of wind and water in her stomach. I'm going to sing to you now. 4 seeds in a hole, one for the rook, one for the crow, one to rot and one to grow. Good afternoon.